Hey guys, this is Jason. Today I am reviewing Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, directed by Gil Kenan, and is a sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife, where once again has the Spengler family that's now living in New York City and have the firehouse as their own home, but soon find out that this new ancient artifact unleashes a new threat around New York City, and both the Ghostbusters, old and new, have to work together to defeat it. And this is also the fifth Ghostbusters film they made, or the fourth if you don't count the 2016 Ghostbusters film. I was kind of looking forward to this because I am a Ghostbusters fan. I did love the original film growing up, and I did watch a little bit of the episodes of the animated show and played the video game a lot from 2009. The second film wasn't as good. It does have some issues with the story and a couple of plot holes, but I still enjoy that film for what it is. Then there's the 2016 film, which the acting from the main four characters in the film was the best part of the movie, but everything else, like the writing and the humor, just didn't work for me. And I liked Ghostbusters Afterlife. I didn't think it was an amazing film. It does have some issues, like some of the new characters they have can be pretty tough to get used to, and some of the nostalgic moments, while some were fun, but sometimes they do feel like they're just spiking the camera a bit. But I still enjoyed the film. I think it's a really fun movie with some creepy moments that I did like. I liked Paul Rudd in the film, as well as Makenna Grace as Phoebe. I thought she was one of the better new characters in the film, and it's a very nice homage to both Ghostbusters fans and Harold Ramis. So I was a little excited to see this film because this film brought back most of the cast and crew from Afterlife, except instead of Jason Reitman directing this film like he did Afterlife, Gil Kenan is directing it, who is known for writing Afterlife with Reitman and is also known for directing Monster House. But Jason Reitman is still a producer and writer of this film, so at least he's still involved with Frozen Empire. And I was hoping that this film would be a fun watch, and there are times where it can be fun, mostly with some of the character moments for Phoebe, played by Makenna Grace, who is once again really good in this movie. I do think she is one of the better parts of the film because she's trying to come out as her own, and she's supposed to be the brains of the new group just like Egon was, but they don't want her to be involved with all this ghost stuff because she's just a kid, so she's starting to feel left out. And it's mostly her trying to come to her own and prove to her family that she is reliable at this job, which does lead to some issues and some conflict with her family, which we'll talk about that in a moment. Paul Rudd is Paul Rudd in the film, but I think it works for the film because he does bring most of the better humor in this film, which, by the way, the humor at times can be a hit and miss. Like, there are a couple of moments where they can be funny, but there are also times where it cannot be all that funny. I like seeing Ray being his usual self when he talks about ghosts and wanting to capture them, and you can really tell that he misses being a Ghostbuster. And when he's helping Phoebe with a ghost problem that she has, he gets excited about it and he wants to help, and Dan Akroyd is still really good in the film. He didn't feel like he was phoning it in, nor did the original cast from the first film. Just like in Afterlife, this movie does have some creepy moments involving the ghosts that do help elevate the tension in a few scenes. Unfortunately, that's where my positives end for me because I found this sadly to be another mediocre film of 2024. Not bad, but just One of my issues with this film is the pacing. It can drag a lot whenever the characters are talking about something that's supposed to relate to a ghost that they're capturing that does involve some exposition. And there are also times when the characters would remind the audience of what happened in Afterlife when they really didn't need to. And it just makes the audience feel like they're saying, yeah, we know, we saw that in Afterlife. You don't need to remind us what happened in that film. Like, that's how it feels when they're just reminding us all that. And there is a lot of exposition. Now, I understand that some movies require it. I do realize that some films need that to get the audience to understand what's going on, and there are some parts of the exposition that do work for the film, like when they're explaining more about this entity and why he's a threat and why he's the main villain of the film. That part does work for me, but the problem is that this movie uses a lot of exposition for one scene after another, and it doesn't really have a lot of like action or like ghost busting in the film, which makes this movie feel kind of boring at times. And that's another problem. There really isn't a lot happening in this film. There are only like a couple of moments whenever the entity is doing something dark or whenever there's a ghost busting scene, which doesn't really happen that much. It's mostly just in the opening scene and around the second half of the film. But it's really just stuff like that, just scenes whenever the entity is doing something bad or when Finn Wolfhard is trying to catch Slimer. This movie is also missing some of the heart that the last film had involving the Spangler family. You would think that they would involve it just a little more now that Paul Rudd's a part of it and they're a team now, and you would think that they would show a little more of that heart like Afterlife had. Now granted, that family wasn't all that likable for the most part in that film, but the reason I gave it a pass in that film is that it was supposed to show that most of them were broken from certain events that happened to them in the past, and you see parts of this family grow more mature throughout the film, and they do help elevate the heart and soul a bit, but you really don't get a lot of that. Like, Phoebe is having problems with her family because she's not allowed to be a part of the team for certain reasons, and Paul Rudd is trying to be a new father figure to her. You would think that they would explore that a little more, but it just feels like they just pushed it to the side for something else. Just for this entity to do some bad stuff and other moments that happen in the film, and introducing big name actors like Patton Oswalt, who I do like as a comedian. I do think he is pretty funny, but he's really just in this film just to give exposition, and you never see him again after that. Now, when we get to the third act, it does pick up a little bit when this entity starts freezing things in New York, and both the new Ghostbusters and the original Ghostbusters come together to defeat this thing. And it's honestly nice to see the original cast come back for this film, like Bill Murray, Dan Akroyd, Ernie Hudson, and Annie Potts. It's great seeing him. Even though Bill Murray isn't in it a whole lot, it was still nice seeing him back for this one. Now, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire isn't a bad film. It's definitely not the worst film in this list. I prefer to watch this film over the 2016 film, but it still didn't manage to capture the heart that Afterlife had. Now, if you love Ghostbusters Afterlife, then you might have a fun time watching this film, but if you love the original film as well and you're expecting this to be great, I would say just set those expectations low, because you're sadly not going to get a lot of that, but hopefully you'll have a fun time watching it. I'm going to give Ghostbusters Frozen Empire a C+. And I'm kind of disappointed to say that, to be honest. So guys, if you have seen Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, what did you think about it? Did you think it's a great film and maybe better than Afterlife? Or were you disappointed with it and maybe you think it's the worst in the franchise? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this review, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because it helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.